Hello everybody, welcome to a Java tutorial. Well, this is not really a tutorial. I'm just showing you guys this calculator that I made inside of Java. So, this is the main class of the calculator. But before I do anything, let me just show you guys what it does. So this is the calculator. So it starts off with zeros and ones. It starts off with both zeros. You select an operation, so let's do times, for example, and it shows the operation over here. And then you type in the two numbers that you want to multiply. Let's do 12 times 12. So it's going to be 144. And let's see if it outputs that. And see, inside of the console, it does output 144. If we try to solve it again, it still outputs 144. Now, I did make a previous video on a calculator, but I took it down because, well, this calculator is like 10 times more efficient, and you can do a lot more with it than you can with the first calculator. Because with the first calculator, you could select digits from 0 to 9, then add, multiply, divide, or subtract them. Subtract them, and it wasn't very good, so I decided to make this. And let me show you how this works. So let's just exit out of this. Sorry about that. Anyway, so inside of this main method, it makes a new window variable, and that actually is a class. So it instantiates that class, and this class has a constructor. So it's going to run that, and then it's going to go back here. Since you have W again, it's going to set its title and it's going to make it visible. This is purely because I don't want it to, like, having that weird line under it. I think it's kind of stupid, to be honest. Anyway, so it's going to set its size and make it visible and all of that. And it's going to instantiate another class called components. And this is the class which pretty much has all the buttons and the text fields, and and this components does not have a constructor. I can't remember why, but there was an error because I might have needed the components class from another class, and I didn't want to initialize all of this again because it already was initialized. Anyway, so it just runs the components inside of this. So this is the run components method with the JFrame F. So since this class is extending to the JFrame class, it has everything that the JFrame class has, even though you can't see it. So you can just use this instead of making a new JFrame or using an already created JFrame. So it sets its action pane to this JPanel that I have made called a pane. And I am using absolute layout positioning purely for the reason that I can position things out by using set bounds. Anyway, so it sets its layout null, and I think what that does is make it a absolute layout. I'm not too sure about that. Anyway, so it does the action stuff. I don't know why, but I like having another method for action, for stuff with having to do with the action. Anyway, so it sets an action listener, and an action listener is listening if the button is being pushed or not. And when that button does get eventually pushed, it will trigger as an action command inside of this method. Because of this class, it implements an action listener. You can just put in this, and then Java will expect a public void action performed somewhere in the class. So if the button that pressed was add, then this is what it's going to do. It's the same thing for all of these. Wait, did I skip anything? I feel that I skipped something. Okay, let me just go over what these are. First of all, I don't know why that is there anyway. So it makes a instance of the class run the program, so we can run the program later. And it makes these some JText fields. If you don't know what a JText field is, it pretty much is a text field where you can enter in text, and then you can grab the text with it, you can set the text, you can make it editable. It's just really cool. So this is where you enter in number 1, number 2. This is the operation, and if you recall, right here, you know how it displays the different operations? That is the JText field operation, you know, so it makes it clearer for you guys. Anyway, and this is the console JText field. That's where it will set the numbers that have, yeah, it's the answer for all the problems. So, and these are just labels so you actually know what this stuff is for. It makes 4 fonts. I described what a font is in a previous video, so you should go watch that. And yeah, so if it's add that has been pressed, because inside of this it will replace it, I think it will replace it with add, because the action command of E will be add, and then if it's equal to add, then it's going to do this. So, like, if you only had one button, then you wouldn't need all of this. You could just put in instead of using if statements, you could just put in the code that you wanted to do. But I got this method from docs.oracle.com. Anyway, so inside of O, it's going to set its text. If you recall, O is our JText field, so it's just going to set its text every time you push a operation button. It's going to set its text. The string operation is going to be equal to add, and then inside of the run variable, this is actually a class that we have that's not in the JRE library. It's going to find the method set things, and then it's going to use add with it. Now I'm getting this really weird error. I have no idea why this is there, but if I do this, I get a bunch of these things. I have no idea what it's about. So I'm still trying to fix that, so that is something I'll be working on in the future. So inside of run program, there's this public void set things. And it's going to cry operation is equal to O. And inside of this, there's another string called operation. It's going to set it to whatever you put in inside of this. And then it's going to, if there's an exception and it does not work, I can't imagine why, but it might not, then it's going to show a message that says an error occurred. So yeah, and when you calculate stuff, that method is called when you push the solve button. It's going to run it. What just happened? Okay, anyway, so the calculate method inside of this public void calculate, it will need a JText field. That's for where it will print out the answers. It's going to need a string for what the first number is going to be and the second number. And you should have clicked an operation already. If you haven't, then I don't know what will happen. I'd probably just do nothing. But it's going to, number 1 is equal to, so there's a double called number 1. And that a double is basically an integer with decimals. It's going to be equal to, inside of the double class, it's going to change the following to a double, number 1. And if we do number 1.getText and number 2.getText, it's going to return a value of a string, and a string, you cannot add up strings together, which is why you have to convert them to doubles. And it's going to try all of this code, and if it doesn't work, then it's going to show a error message. And if the operation is equal to this, then it's going to set the text re-enter in an operation. You see when I click that, it says re-enter in an operation. If you click on, if it's add, if the operation is equal to add, then it's going to do this. If you recall, from here we set the operation to equal to O, so now we have the operation. So what this actually is doing is answer, that's the JText field, dot set text. It's going to change this double to a string, then n dot multiplication with number 1 and number 2. Now that is very confusing, so I'm going to explain it further to you guys. Up here we have a variable which instantiates the class A, and it's just going to return number 1 plus number 2. It's very simple. I could have just compiled all of that into one class. I should have done that, really. But it's going to do a.addition. It's going to call the addition method from the class add with number 1 and number 2. And since we've already set number 1 and number 2 up here, we can really do anything we want with them. So it just adds them up, and it will return that. And then since it's setting the text of that to that string, then that answer JText field that we made in here, it's going to be equal to that. And that's also the console JText field. I just like thinking of it as the answer JText field. It helps me out. And guys, this video is getting pretty long. I think I covered everything. Let me check. Yeah, all of the others are the same like this, the operation methods. Yeah, guys, this video is getting kind of long, so I'm gonna end it here. I hope this video helped you guys, and if it did, be sure to leave a like down below, leave a comment, or maybe even subscribe. It will help out a lot to me. And yeah, that's about it for this video, guys.